Well, good evening, listeners. Thank you so much for coming on to Lamentifo podcast and listening to such amazing stories and stories from people with different struggles, with different journeys. It's such a gift for me. I always feel so blessed. I can't even believe it just keeps coming and coming for me, and that's been such a gift to see how many people want to do this and share. And right now I have Karli Karandos. She's nodding. Okay, good. And if you guys don't follow her channel, I'm going to link it below, her Instagram, but I came across it one day and she was talking about her really complicated relationship with her mom. So her mom has passed away, but she was talking about how her mom struggled with drug addiction, but at the same time, she had these really wonderful memories with her mom, some very painful memories of her mom. And so when her mom died, it was how do I grieve two people? Because it seemed like just two opposite people in the same being. And that just resonated with me so much from my own personal experiences. And also, I've never had anyone openly talk about struggles with their relationship with their mom. It's usually with their dad. And maybe that's just the circles or the people I've talked to, but there's been so much dad hurt, which I've heard a lot of. But mother hurt, I have not, and I wonder too, just because it's such a sensitive thing to talk about with your mom, because saying mother in of itself is such a nurturing term. I think it must be hard to it's hard to really say anything bad, or really parse through what it's like to be a mother. So I was so blessed by her vulnerability on this Instagram. She's writing a memoir right now, which is in the early works, and she's hoping to be able to share her story more publicly there. But she was happy to come on. And so, Karli, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
So, I want to start off just to ask what
Yeah.
made you push that post button and start that story? Because I can't imagine all the visceral feelings you must have been feeling just putting it out there for the world to see.
Yeah, it's something that I had been sitting with for over a decade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And because my mom has, she passed away, it's been almost 12 years now. And so I've been living with that state of complicated grief for that amount of time. And I've been on a really long healing journey myself. I have had health complications, like not unlike the ones that my mom had that led to her prescription pain medicine addiction. Um, I've just been on this really long healing journey, trying to get to the root of what was causing some of my own pain and dysfunction and like poor decision making, and um, through many years of that and many working with many different people and just peeling back the layers, like it really started to reveal itself that the through line was my mother and the relationship with my mother
Hmm.
and like her pregnancy, like my birth experience, like whether or not I was breastfed or not, like all these things, it just all started and ended with my mother.
Hmm.
And that's been really profound. And it was just a huge revelation that really inspired me. Like I just was like, I feel like I need to share about this. Like people need to know about this. It's not talked about enough. And that was kind of the inspiration for sharing. It was just kind of for my own healing, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess on a personality level, like I've never really shied away from saying the things that other people aren't saying, but the door opened for that. Like I saw an opportunity and I was like, nobody is talking about this and this is my life and I need to start expressing it.
Yeah. So when you think about your mom, if someone says, "What was your mom like?" I get that question so much myself. What's your
Yeah.
first? What do you think first?
The very first word that comes to mind is sick,
Hmm.
honestly. Um I always remember her being sick. I always remember her being in bed. I always remember her being in and out of the hospital. Um, and I think addiction goes hand in hand with that, especially when her addiction came as a result of, um, you know, just illegitimate doctors and the medical system.
Hmm.
And I feel like being addicted to prescription medicine, it's like, I mean, it's addiction is addiction, but it's almost like, it's just like, it feels different in a way. I don't know if I'm the only one that
Yeah.
thinks that. She wasn't doing heroin, she was like, she was taking Vicodin, which she got from the pharmacy, but so it's all kind of grouped together. But the first word I think of is sick, unfortunately. Um, and after that, I mean, just like crazy,
Yeah.
unstable, but also like very loving to the point that it was like smothering and suffocating at times. Like
Hmm.
I know a lot of women that have complicated relationships with their mother or like narcissistic mothers who um, they feel like their mother does not love them, and that even may be the case. I did not have experience. I never questioned whether my mom loved me or not.
Hmm.
I knew that she loved me, but her expression of love was very unhealthy. And I feel like that word was almost weaponized. Like, can't you see how much I love you? Like, and it's like, is this love? Like, this feels very, very unhealthy and like harmful?
How was it? How did it kind of start for you? Like as a little kid, do you have memories of your mom being super controlling or suffocating, or did that start happening as you got older?
Um, it was always there, even as a little girl. Because she truly was always sick. My whole life, I don't really remember her ever being healthy or stable or having like vitality. She never worked. We lived off of child support and her disability paycheck.
Yeah.
Um, but we were very, very close when I was a little girl. I was like a total mama's girl. And I almost feel like that was partially her doing. Like, I really feel like she encouraged that sense of attachment. Um, I had divorced parents, and it was like the nights that I would go to my dad's, I wanted to call her, but and then it also became like, don't forget to call me, call me before you go to bed. Like,
Yeah.
uh, we would like stay up on the phone together all night sometimes. Like, it kind of felt like she wanted me to miss her, and she wanted to feel missed and needed.
Hmm.
And if I didn't, like, I would feel bad. I would feel like shame and guilt for that. And like I was hurting her feelings. So there was just this weird, um, just, I don't know, enmeshment. Like, I just remember always being just hyper aware of mom's feelings, and like we were
Yeah.
living, like she was the center, and we're like living in her orbit, and we're like all like just trying to make sure we don't upset mom or hurt mom or disturb mom.
Hmm. But it's interesting when you said that about missing, because I think, did you miss her, but she just never believed you if you said that? So you feel like she always just wanted, continued over and over again, please prove this to me, but
Yeah, I think I did miss her. I mean, I think that that's kind of a normal thing, maybe when you're a child, to be homesick or miss your mom. But at the
sure.
same time, it was like I was going to my dad's, which that should have been encouraged to, like, I don't know. I think that there could have been a better approach on her part to
Yeah.
not fuel that, like to help calm that or dissipate it. And instead it kind of was like she stoked it. And And then I think that just kind of breeds like an unhealthy attachment. Like I think sometimes you think you miss people, but you don't really miss them, you're just attached to them, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. What when you were growing up and you were talking about when you're talking about attachment, what were some other ways that you saw that maybe made you uncomfortable as a kid, but you didn't really know how to say that?
Mm, what do you mean exactly? Can you rephrase it a little bit?
Yeah, like um something that comes to mind for me is like emotionally needy. Like I would have moments where my mom, and she really struggled. She was mentally very unwell. And so part of it, I really don't blame her necessarily. It was more just she didn't have an outlet for what she needed. But she would come to me and need and crave emotional support. Like I would
Yeah.
need to give her counsel
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on life questions that as a little kid or as a young teenager, I had no clue. Like I was just picking it out of whatever I could think of. And
Yeah.
I felt like I had to take care of her. If I didn't take care of her, she was going to get hurt, something bad was going to happen. So I always felt like she was on my radar of who am I going to take care of, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally relate. Thanks for sharing that. I have like a very similar experience now that I'm thinking about it, where well, one, there was a bit of a role reversal where like I almost became the mother to my own mother
Yeah.
at like a very young age. But then it was also this thing where she wanted us to be best friends. And I think that that is something I still see a lot of, that I don't think people, I'm not saying it's always unhealthy, but like I see a lot of like mothers that want their daughters to be their best friends. And it's
Right.
like they're not your friend, they're your child, you know?
Right.
And my mom didn't have many friends at all. So when she was in need of one or wanted to share about things that were inappropriate, honestly, to be talking to her child about, like she treated me like a best friend, not
Yes.
her,
Yeah.
not her daughter, you know?
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of that.
What was like, did you ever have a really awkward moment for you where she asked you like a question where you were just like, I have no way to answer this, mom? I have no clue.
There were times I can remember her wanting to talk to me about men, and she remarried a man. She remarried a terrible man that really, really just honestly made her so much worse. He had epilepsy. And so, I mean, that alone, it was like, okay, now we have two sick people. I don't
Wow.
mean that the way it sounds, but it's just like two
Oh,
people with
yeah.
health issues, both on like tons of medications, enabling each other. Like he can't drive, but you're sick. So he's not benefiting, like he's not making your life easier in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he was just terrible. I mean, he really kind of like destroyed her even more so and hurt us all
Hmm.
in many different ways. But um, I remember when they first started dating, her wanting to talk to me about him, like the way that you would talk to your girlfriend about a boy,
Hmm.
about a date, about like a guy that you were interested in.
Yeah.
And it was inappropriate for sure. And it made me feel uncomfortable. And it also made me feel, I think at that young age, I mean, it was hurtful. Like I felt almost, I think because I was a little girl that already wasn't getting my needs met.
Yeah.
And then my mom started dating and like prioritizing her romantic life over what seemed like, that was taking time away and energy away from what she could have been pouring into me to
Yeah.
fulfill the needs that I had. And so it almost felt like she was choosing that over me,
Hmm.
and I think that's something that I still struggle with. I still struggle with those feelings of having parents that kind of prioritize their romantic and sex life over the needs of their children, you know?
Yeah. No, it's really, I mean, I don't think a lot of times, I mean, maybe they do realize it if they're very narcissistic people, but I think most of the time they're just so ignorant. They're just thinking, they're not even thinking about it, but you're right. Like that's just, it's very selfish when you get down to it and you actually see the picture of what's going on. Um
Yeah.
did you, since she was sick, like were you grocery shopping? How were you handling those things? Like were basic needs being met in the home, or was that something you had to do?
Yeah, I guess this is where it gets complicated because I do remember my mom. I mean, we moved around a lot. We moved around truly like every month. We were moving into a different home.
Wow.
So that was very destabilizing. But every home that she moved us to, like, she did make it a home. Like, she was very into interior design.
Hmm.
It was always furnished. We always got to like redecorate and paint our rooms. And I can remember like a meal rotation that she would run through. But then I also remember days where like she would be bedbound and I would be left to fend for myself and get myself up for school in the morning. You know, like she was not the type of mother that was waking up early to make me breakfast and make sure I got on the bus. Or make sure I did my homework after school. I was very self sufficient at a very young age. So a little bit of a mixture, you know, I think that's where like the nuances and just gray area start to filter in.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
have, what's the sweetest memory you think you have of your mom? Because if,
Hmm.
for me, when I think about it, I probably, the last sweetest memory I have, and maybe it's just because my memory is bad, I don't know, but it was when I was little. I remember some very sweet memories with her. Um, and so I don't know for you, like, is there something that stood out where you really felt like, oh wow, this must be what it's like to have a mother?
Yeah. She was very big on like cultivating traditions. There were just a number
Hmm.
of really special things that she did, like putting notes in my lunchbox with like a lipstick kiss on it and writing me a little note, or um, if we would go on trips with my dad and when we would come home, like she'd put a welcome home sign on the door with like candy taped to it. And she
Oh,
invented this thing called the Get Well Angel. And anytime we were sick, the Get Well Angel would visit us, which really she was the Get Well Angel, but it was like she would leave us a little gift basket of like magazines, coloring books, like Kleenex, chapstick, whatever. And it'd be like, the Get Well Angel is visiting you. And, you know, she was a really creative woman. She really was. And there's just little things like that that I still hold on to that are really special to me, for sure.
what were some of the hardest things you think?
I mean, I think just as I got older and she got deeper into her addiction and was with my stepdad, she just got worse and worse and worse, and just did some very I don't know. She just was unstable. Like she just um, gosh, I mean, like in terms of addiction, you know, like I witnessed her like lie to pharmacists, to doctors, to family members, steal
Yeah.
money from family members. I witnessed her like pick apart her skin, like
Mm.
truly mutilate it, like open wounds, thinking that there were bugs underneath her skin. She was like really high or going through some sort of withdrawal. I
Yeah.
don't know. She was on so many medications. Um, and yeah, she just acted very unstable at times, like harassing phone calls, showing up at my school, like stalking the halls looking for me,
Wow.
things like that. You know, it shifted where it was like you don't feel like a safe person anymore.
Yeah. Could you ever tell her that, or was she not even comprehend what you said?
Yeah, I definitely told her. Told her in like the best I could, in the
Sure.
best of my ability, but she wasn't like receiving of it. And she was always very defensive and stubborn. And again, it would be like, can't you see how much I love you? Like, don't you remember all I did for you? Um, things like that. So it was hard to see eye to eye ever, really.
So if your mom was stalking the halls, like was she calling out your name in the middle of school?
So this happened multiple times after I'd gone to live with my dad. Once her
Okay.
addiction had gotten so severe, which she actually encouraged me to do, because I think she realized it did get to a point where she was like, Carly should not be witnessing this. And I
And you were
moved to,
like a teen then?
I was probably like 12,
Oh wow. Okay.
11 or 12 when this happened. I went to move to my dad's. So rather than living with her mostly full time, I was living with him mostly full time now. And probably about a year or two into living with my dad, um, you know, I kind of just started growing distant from my mom because I felt relief living at my dad's. Like I didn't really miss her.
Yeah.
And um, I didn't always answer her phone calls. I didn't always call her back. And so when that would happen, she would show up at school and like go through the halls, like looking for my friends, like asking what room I'm in, where I am. There was one incident where she did that and couldn't find me, and then she saw my. Uh, this was like at a later date when I was in high school and was driving, and so she couldn't find me in the school, so she like camped out in the parking lot by my car. And then, so when I left school that day, like in front of all of my friends, and I like see her waiting there with my stepdad, of course, and she just makes a massive, humiliating scene, like grabs my car keys out of my hand, drives off with them. And I'm like, now I'm stranded in my school parking lot. Like,
Oh
it was
wow.
crazy stuff like that. It was crazy stuff like that all the time, really.
Did you have anyone who supported you, like any friends or anybody who was like, "Yeah, this doesn't seem quite normal." Or did you feel really isolated, like nobody could quite understand or want to come close to the situation?
I had support. I think everybody knew. Um, I thankfully had an amazing friend group. I had my dad and my dad's family. Like my dad's side of the family have always been just just so loving and safe. And I think had I not had that, it would have I would have turned out a lot worse, honestly. Like I think that those saved me, both of those, for sure. Yeah.
Do you remember when um you knew this wasn't what moms were supposed to be like? Like did that ever hit you like that, or did you just always assume that this must be what people go through all the time? Like I'm not that unique.
No, I think I knew. I mean, because I could just feel it, inherently and in my body. I had so much shame and embarrassment towards my mother,
Hmm.
which I had so much guilt over, like feeling embarrassed about your mom, like feeling shame about your mom, like not wanting her to come to like your softball game, or whatever, because you're embarrassed of her, you're embarrassed of what she might do, how she might behave, how she might look. Um, and because I had such a large friend group, like I witnessed the way that they were with their mothers,
Hmm.
and the way that their mothers behaved and how their mothers showed up for them. And I knew that I was just like very clear that my mom was just different and our relationship was different.
How was it like for you? Because I know you mentioned this on your Instagram too, when you're talking about like the mixture of relief that someone is dead, but at the same time, there's guilt over feeling relief someone's dead, and then also sad about the parts of that person that are gone that were good.
Yeah.
Um, can you walk me through the days leading up to when she died and when she died and what that felt like for you, how that first hit you, how you grappled in the beginning with all of that?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, that's quite a story. Like we had been at odds for years. I had cut her out of my life essentially for years, like all throughout college.
Yeah.
We really did not have much of a relationship. Hardly ever saw her. I didn't call her. We didn't speak. And I'd get whispers like, again, it was like, mom's in the hospital again. But at that point, I had become so desensitized to it. It was kind of like the boy who cried wolf, right? Because even
Right.
though
Yeah.
yeah, like even though she did have legitimate health issues, she also manipulated the medical system and doctors to get prescription pain medicine. Like she knew what to say to get them to admit her or to get her to get them to prescribe her what she wanted. So when I would hear like, your mom's in the hospital again, I didn't I didn't have the same reaction that someone else might. Like, oh my gosh, my mom's in the hospital. I got to drop everything and be by her side. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Like, tell me something I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
um, but that happened. That happened right after I had graduated college. I was 23 and I got word that my mom was in the hospital again. And I didn't go to visit her. I didn't think anything of it. Weeks went on, and then I just kept, like, my grandmother, my mom's mom, and her side of the family kept insisting, like, you need to come, you need to come, like, it's different, you need to come. And so finally I went to see her, and she had a few, I forget what they're called, like they're like baby strokes, like not a full-blown
Yeah.
stroke.
Yeah.
So she already had like multiple like baby strokes throughout her life, but this one was like full blown, and she couldn't talk anymore. She had lost like all coordination on, I think it was her left side.
Hmm.
Uh, like couldn't care for herself anymore. Could barely walk. Like couldn't like eat. Couldn't. It was different. Um, and there were a lot of other health complications that just like spiraled and snowballed from that
Yeah.
stroke. Um, and I think we all knew, like, okay, this is different. And I was supposed to leave to go abroad, to be an au pair in Italy, like right as this was happening. And so
Hmm.
I'm I'm like faced with the realization that, like, well, one, I like can't talk to my mom anymore. Like we had so much left unsaid, and it was like I can't even talk to you. Like we can't have a conversation anymore.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I can sit here and tell you all the things that I want you to hear, and maybe for once you'll finally listen. But I can't hear what you have to say about it. Like couldn't we couldn't clear the air, and I had wanted to do that. Like I really wanted to make amends because I was just fearful that she was gonna die, and
Hmm.
so and I'm like getting ready to go abroad, and I'm like, is she going to be okay? Is she not going to be okay? Everybody's telling me like she's going to be fine. Like still go. We all want you to do this, because this was like my dream. Like I really wanted
Yeah.
to go travel, and I had like a perfect setup and everything was booked. And everybody's telling me like don't cancel, and I'm asking my mom like, do you want me to stay? Do you like? And she's like shaking her head like, no, like go, still go. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. Like it was just very chaotic and confusing, and I didn't know what the best move was, and I was
Yeah.
getting like just different input from people, like mixed signals, and I just didn't really know what to do. But at the time that I left for Italy, you know, she was out of the hospital. She was in a rehabilitation clinic.
Hmm.
She had my grandma, my older sister. She had people coming to check on her. Like she still wasn't able to speak or care for herself, but it was like I felt like she was going to be okay. Like she was in good hands and stable enough for me to leave.
Yeah.
So I did. And then 2 weeks into being in Italy, I get a call that she died. And it, even though that had happened before I left, like it was a shock. It really was. Um, I thought she was going to pull through, and I was only supposed to go for the summer, and I just thought like I'll only be gone for a month or two, and
Yeah.
I did not think that that was the end, you know. Um, and so then I was left with so much guilt and regret and scrambling to try to find a way back home from Italy for her funeral. And it was just a crazy, crazy, crazy time, you know. And the way that she died was crazy. Like the autopsy report didn't make sense, and there's just a lot of things that didn't add up.
What do you
So
think
most
she
things with my mom, it was just very complicated. Like even in death, it was just like very complicated.
do you know, like, was that, if, like, do you have an idea of how she died, or was it just like nobody knows?
Her autopsy report said that she had a head contusion
Okay.
from falling. My grandma found her with like a busted chin, like a scrape on her chin. It seemed like she had like fallen on gravel, and we found a receipt for cigarettes in her pocket, and we think that maybe she got up in the middle of the night to walk to get cigarettes and fell and like smacked her head. And I think with whatever medications she had been on, it caused some sort of like brain bleed or something. But again, I
Hmm.
don't really, it's just very bizarre, right? It's just like a freak thing. And of course, led by her own stubbornness of like needing to go get cigarettes in the middle of the night. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So, can I ask, for the funeral, did I know usually kids go up and say something about their parents.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
I did not. I was so preoccupied leading up to the funeral trying to just get home for it because I had spent every dollar I had getting to Italy and making that whole au pair experience happen for myself that I had no money to get home. Like we had to fundraise those flights for me to get back, and
Hmm.
I so I couldn't have any part in like planning the funeral, like who was speaking. It was just all such a blur. Like I had gotten there like right in time, and there there was an opportunity for me to get up and speak, but I was scared. You know, I hadn't prepared, and um I was just scared too, and that was something that I really regretted as well because that's like a moment that you never get back, and I felt like I should have, you know, like I don't know, I kind of like reverted back to a little girl that day. Like it just I felt
Yeah.
like a lot of I could just almost like feel my mother's like I could just feel her being like this funeral is not good enough. I can't believe you didn't get up and say anything. Like, you know,
Hmm.
it was just like that where I like felt I felt like we had let her down. And like I had no part in planning it because I couldn't. And I just felt like it wasn't good. It really wasn't a good funeral. It was like just kind of thrown together and yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask because I've been to a funeral, of a relative before where it was very fake. Um, the
Oh
relative
yeah.
were not, wasn't the nicest person.
Yeah.
Um, and most people who really did know, didn't come to the funeral.
Yeah.
And I just remember hearing people say things, or I just, I remember at one point, I think I had an opportunity to do something in honor of this person, and um, it was too hard for me to do. I remember getting up and I think I fumbled all the way through whatever it was I was doing, and
Yeah.
uh, I couldn't because all I could think about was, well, if we're going to do this right, we have to say the good and the bad about this person. We can't just ignore all the things that have been hurtful about this person. Like, that's just not being true to their memory. That's creating a false memory. So the person we're mourning didn't even exist, and that's just not even fair.
Yeah.
Um, so I wondered for you, like, even if you had been have the opportunity to plan and do all of that, I mean, I feel like would that have been complicated for you because you would have had so many mixed emotions? I mean, it wasn't like you were just mourning someone who had been like the ultimate beautiful, amazing mom who had like come through and everything, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it would have been, well, it would have been dishonest. Like it would have been performative. It would have been
Yeah.
me saying and reciting something that I thought my mother would have liked to hear to like please her, the same way I did so many times as a little girl, is just like shapeshift to like appease her and make sure mom is happy. Um it would have been something similar to that. It would have been what others would have expected and what she would have liked to hear about herself.
Yeah,
And
because
it would have been hard.
even earlier you were saying like you felt like your mom would be the one standing there being like, this isn't a good funeral. It sounds so guilt ridden
Yeah. Yeah,
more than
tremendous.
like naturally just, oh, I wish I could, because I love her so much. I wish I could do more.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of guilt projected onto me by my mother throughout my life, I think, even
So,
as like a really little girl.
so you must feel that even now, like writing her memoir and like as you continue to process all of that. Like, I know you said that she died over a decade ago, but still,
Yeah.
like you're still wrestling with this, which is how much this woman's life has impressed itself upon your own, especially her being your mom. Like, what are your predominant feelings? How do you work through that? How do you explain it to people?
Um I mean, this the writing that I'm doing now and the content that I'm creating and the book that I'm working on, this is me like reclaiming my voice,
Yeah.
you know, all of the things that I was silenced over my whole life, um,
Hmm.
and that I couldn't express because it didn't feel safe to. Um, this book is purely for me, which I
Hmm.
think is the way that it should be. I'm not writing it for anybody else
Yeah.
at all in mind. I'm really not thinking about anybody else. And perhaps that sounds selfish, but it's not meant to. It's just that's that's the only way to write something like this. I think that goes for all art, though. Like you should just be creating it for yourself, doing it for you, that's where like the authenticity comes through, I think. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many layers to this. And I think as I've grown older, I've just gained so much more awareness.
Yeah.
And um, I think that for the majority of the years following her death, I don't know, it's almost like I wasn't really grieving. I was like performing grief.
Hmm.
Um, but underneath that is like so much unprocessed anger, mostly, honestly. So um, I think that comes through in the writing a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's complicated.
No, it is. And this might be a weird question, but do you think you ever would have written this book when she was alive?
Ooh, good question. Well, I'm kind of experiencing what I think I may have if she were, because my maternal grandmother
Hmm.
does not want me to write about it at all and has
Mm.
tried to silence me and forbid me from writing about it. And my mom and my grandma are like very similar in their temperament. Um, so I'm experiencing a little bit of that regardless. But yeah, I mean, if my mom were still here, I think that was always the struggle, right? Where it's like, and I felt that my whole life, where I just felt silenced. And I'm like naturally a very outspoken person.
Yeah.
As a little girl, like there was a time where I was like very spirited and spunky, and that just got lost so much along the way because I just got like steamrolled and like beaten to submission. Like not literally, thankfully, but like just silenced and instilled fear upon by like authority figures like parents. And then that pattern showed up later in my life with um bosses or like men I dated, always trying to like, silence me, make me smaller, like very clearly like acting out of line, and it's like I can't say anything about it, like
Hmm.
that's why writing is so important to me. Like this is my moment and this is my way of like saying all the things I never got to.
Yeah. And I think there's such a difference. Like, I think I've had people say, how malicious to say something like that, or like, you must have ill intent, or assuming that. And it's like, what if I'm actually just saying something that's true? I really don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to um, cause discord, but I have to say what is true. I can't pretend. And if that
Yeah.
causes people to get hurt, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no malicious or malintent with what I'm doing. Like I truly just am expressing truth and what I experienced. And I guess that's the tricky thing about like truth and memory, is like memory is kind of subjective, right?
Mm,
Like everybody remembers everything and everyone differently.
yeah.
Um, and that's okay, but this is how I remember it, and this is what it did to me. This was the impact it had on my life. It's my story, and that I have every right to tell.
How do you feel about? I wanted to ask it, like, because in part the drug addiction, your mom, because obviously she had her own responsibility on this, but also she had medical caretakers who failed her, or just
Yeah.
weren't being super cautious or aware that it's like, oh, I wonder why she keeps asking for this, or like, why does this keep happening? Um, what do you think of like your mainstream medical system now? How has that made you see it? And also, I don't know if you don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable, but like when it comes to drugs for mental health, things that people struggle with, not just if you're sick, but like, things like that. Like, is this made you much more distrustful of that? Are you still trying to work on that? Like work through that? How does it make you feel?
Hmm. Well, I've struggled with my own health for many years. So I have had a parallel experience to the one that my mom had.
Hmm.
Um, there's like a very eerie, like generational inheritance to it all. That's very real. And I think that that alone has allowed me to lead with a bit more compassion towards what my mom went through with her own health and with developing an addiction, because that very easily could have been me. Like, honestly, I was headed down that path. Like, had I not had access to like the internet and to social media and the ability to do my own research that, many of our parents didn't have, like,
Yeah.
that's what saved me. That's what allowed me to course correct. Um, like, it very easily could have turned out differently for me.
Hmm.
Um, but my personal experience with the medical system, I mean, traumatic. Like, I have very little trust in it. I think that I don't want to like demonize it completely. I think there's a time and a place for it. Um, but when you're dealing with chronic, complex cases, like,
Yeah.
they're not equipped, it's not set up for that. Um, and they are way too quick to just dole out prescription
Yep.
medicine for, well, I won't even say medicine, it's they're drugs for whatever you're coming to see them for. Like, that's their way of practicing medicine, is to like get you on a pharmaceutical. that's
Yeah.
not that's not healing or getting to the root of it. Like, what are we doing here? um so I found very little healing in it. I mean, again, it like served its purpose for me here and there, and I think that it does. Like, if you're in need of like a surgery or a certain test, I've had extensive testing done over the years, and blood draws and whatnot, that I had to go through the system for. But which did, it was all part of the journey and ruling things out and getting answers, but like no real healing was found there. um
Hmm.
I just have like very little hope and trust in it, honestly. And but I think everybody's different. Like, I experienced that firsthand, where like I'm just always I've always been the outlier. I'm a very sensitive person, and I think that everybody should be doing what's best for their own body and what they feel comfortable with. And if you are somebody who has a great Western medicine doctor who gets you, and the pharmaceutical that they have you on has helped you, then like that's great, honestly. And I don't mean that like sarcastically. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
That was not my experience. That's never been my experience. So it's just kind of individualized, I guess.
You know, I've I had so much trust in it, I think, when I was young, and maybe even just a couple years ago. And then I just started noticing, like, the Lord has blessed me of having like good people and then really bad experiences. So it's like this mixed pot. I have to say the worst experiences I had have always been in the ER. So I hate going there.
Yes,
Um,
like, oh my gosh.
girl, I struggle with anxiety, depression, nothing new. Like, this has been around forever. And I'll never forget, I was at my most recent experience at the ER. I was given a medication that was not administered correctly, caused a medically induced panic attack, and then I was blamed by the doctor for what happened. And
Mm.
he said, "Well, you're just a nervous person, aren't you?" He's like, "Do you have like palpitations when you have coffee?" And I was like, "Yes, I do have palpitations when I have caffeine. I do, but this isn't my fault." And I
Yeah.
just remember the demeanness of it, like even hearing him and some nurses talking about me and laughing outside of
Yeah.
the ER room. And even the many women I've talked to of chronic illnesses telling me about how so many times doctors are like, it's just in your head. It's like, yeah, sure, this is really in my head. I am dying right now. Like, I'm definitely making this up. Those
Right.
are the things that just, it hurts my soul, because then when you do find someone who's great, or someone who's even compassionate, it's like it takes so much more trust to even go there with them, because you're like, now I need to advocate for myself all the time. And I thought this was the place where you were going to advocate for me. But now I
Right.
have to come and I have to do all the hard work, but I'm in the most vulnerable position of my life. That's why I'm here, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Oh
And that's
gosh.
just,
Yeah. I
I
totally relate.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Every word. I mean, the medical gaslighting that I experienced,
Yeah.
it's just, but it pushes you to the point where you do have to become your own doctor and your own advocate,
Yeah.
and which is a full-time job, and none of us should have to do that. But in a way, it has kind of blessed me, because it's made me a more, um, what do I want to say? I'm blanking on the word, but like it's just empowering, like
Yeah.
you walk through the world differently once you have learned about yourself on that level, that you are your own best doctor and healer. Like, because truly at the end of the day, like nobody knows you or your body better than you do, and nobody's going to care about it more than you do. And that's like a hard truth, but that's like all of the health, um, gains that I've experienced that have benefited me, like I got there on my own.
Hmm.
So that's just that's just like what it takes. I don't know. It's a broken system. It's really messed up.
It is. I know. Do you
My
remember
heart
Little
goes
House on the
out to
Prairie, where like Dr. Baker used to just get chickens for payment because he loved his patients so much he didn't want money? Do you remember
well, like what
that?
about house calls? Like what happened to those? I want a nice doctor to just like come to my house, like come visit me in bed.
I know. I know. Um, and I want to ask you. I want to be respectful of your time, so I have one more question, and I don't mean this to be a hard hitter to end it, but I'm afraid of being a mom. I grew up in a circle where being a mom is like, do it as soon as possible. Have as many kids as you can. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I really don't, if that's what you want and you're really
Mhm.
ready for that. I always, whenever I think about mom, I'm always afraid that my kids will never have like a safe place. I'm afraid that they'll like think back on me and think, oh man, I don't want to, like, I didn't feel safe with my mom. She wasn't the person that
Yeah.
let me do the things that I wanted to try. She was always so fearful. She wanted to keep things back. And I always think about that and I'm like, or even just some of the struggles I've had with, anxiety and stuff and panic where and that's all trauma induced from my own family. It was like, I don't want my kids to see that. I don't want them to have to be scarred like that. I want them to be free and happy children. And
Yeah.
so I always struggle with that. So I want to be a mother, but my fear of being a mother is extremely strong. And so I wanted to ask you, like, because of your own experience with motherhood, like, do you want to be a mom? Like, how do you
Hmm.
feel about being a mom?
Yeah. I appreciate the question. I think for me, I've never had a strong pull toward it, but
Yeah.
I'm also not completely against it. Like I'm just somewhere kind of hanging out in the middle. And I think for me, it's just something that's going to reveal itself over time, because ultimately what I think it will come down to is my health and where I am in my health, and if that's stable enough, because that would be my biggest fear is, um, being sick like my mom was, and having children that
Yeah.
witness a mom who is sick or who's in bed a lot. Like I struggle still with chronic fatigue, as well as a handful of other symptoms that I, live with right now. And that for me is just like kind of where I'm like drawing the line, where it's just like, I'm not going to do it if I'm going to have to do it, quote unquote, like, I don't know, sick or chronically ill. I've tried to remove those labels from my vocabulary. Um, but yeah, like I've just really been through the ringer with my body. And I think that being a parent is it's the highest responsibility, and it's hard. And I think
Yeah.
it's so worthwhile and enriching. But at the same time, it's like I'm exhausted. Like my life has truly been hard enough. I feel like I've lived 29 lives, and I kind of just want to like, when I do get to the point where my health stabilizes, like am I going to want to like jump right into pregnancy after that? Maybe I just want to let my body be my body, because I've gone much of my life without my body feeling safe or even feeling like my own.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if I want to have a baby like and share it with them in that way, if that makes sense. I just kind of just want it to be mine. Like I kind of just want to just have some stability for a while. But I think people, I don't know, will probably pick up an undercurrent of fear and all of that, because I think that women's bodies were designed for birth. It's not something to be feared. It's something to be embraced, that, we're fully capable of doing. And so I think that whatever fears or limiting beliefs either of us or anyone has around it, like I think that those can be worked through if it's something that you truly want. But for me, it's just kind of, it will reveal itself, like TBD. I don't have a life partner yet. Like it's all going to depend. I don't have
Yeah.
a definitive answer right now, but yeah.
No, yeah. And you definitely want a life partner who is not going to make you feel small and silenced. So that's like step
Oh
one.
no. Yeah, no, we will be avoiding that for sure.
Well, Carly, this has been such a gift, and again, I'm so glad like what you're doing, and I'm excited for your book whenever it comes out. I want to
Thank
read
you.
it. I'll probably cry and have moments where I'll have to put it down and then read it again because I'll be like,
Good.
okay, break time. But I'm really, really grateful for your story. So thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so enjoyable. It just flew by. I could keep talking to you longer. So,
Oh, I'm
yeah, thanks.
glad.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Thank you.
Well, go rest now. Go do something you love. This was a hard conversation. I didn't even drink my tea. I gotta warm it up again.
Yeah, I need to go
All
walk.
right. Bye, Carly. Thank you.